The Acumet AB15 pH probe is the standard electrometer and pH probe system that you will be working with in Chapter 2. When you arrive to lab, your bench will be equipped with the entire pH system, which includes the electrometer and pH probe with an adjustable arm, as well as a magnetic stir plate, a ring stand, and two burettes for your hydrochloric acid and potassium hydroxide. So what you're also going to gather to get ready for your pH measurements is your pH 4 standard solution. Here I have 10 mils of this solution in a 50 ml conical tube, as well as a pH 7 standard solution. Also here, I'm showing you that I have about like 30 to 25 mils of DI water in a 50 ml conical tube, and I'm just going to use this as kind of like a storage solution for when I'm not actively using the probe, so that the probe itself doesn't dry out. So when you're ready to use the probe, you are going to essentially grab both the probe and the storage solution bottle, hold it tightly, try not to apply too much pressure, but while you're doing a twisting motion, kind of pull your hands apart so that you can safely take the probe out of the storage solution. And then immediately what you're going to do is rinse off the storage solution buffer that the probe was covered in by using a DI water squirt bottle, and just rinsing that over your liquid waste container. And any excess water that you might have, you're just going to take a Kim wipe and kind of dab that or blot that dry along the entire probe. There's no need to basically take your Kim wipe and drag it across the probe. Just some simple blots here and there should be fine. You'll be able to take off all that solution. Then you're going to take your pH probe protector. You're going to place the probe protector over the probe so that you lessen the impact of either a glass beaker or your magnetic stir bar up against the probe. And then you're just basically going to now put your pH probe inside that DI water conical tube that you created, so that you can just basically put your probe inside there while you're not actively using it. Now there are 5 main buttons in your pH electrometer display screen. There's a standard button at the very top, a mode button, a setup button, an enter button, and a standby button. So when you're ready to calibrate your pH meter, you want to make sure that whatever previous calibrations were on there get erased, and so you're going to hit the setup button twice and hit enter. Notice that there I didn't have any previous calibrations, so all I just did was essentially go back to the same screen that I had before. So now what I want to do is standardize my pH meter against the pH 4 solution. So I'll go ahead and uncover that 50 ml conical tube and just place it in my tube rack. I'll take my pH probe meter and rinse it with some DI water. You do notice that it did come from a DI water containing conical tube, but it's just a really good habit just to make sure that any solution you take it out of, you want to just rinse it off with some distilled water, just so you don't accidentally cross-contaminate something. And after you blot your pH meter dry, you want to then go ahead and stick that inside the 50 ml conical tube containing your pH 4 solution. You'll see that it rapidly changed to the pH close to somewhere a 4. Right now it's stabilizing at about 3.77 or 3.79. And then after about 10 seconds of it stabilizing, what you're going to want to do is hit the standard button once. That is going to essentially enter you into the standardization mode. And then hitting it one more time is going to program the electrometer to recognizing that solution as having a pH of 4, since that was the closest reference point it was at. And then we're just going to basically repeat the whole entire thing using the pH 7 standard solution. So we're going to take our pH meter out of the pH 4 solution, rinse it with some DI water over our liquid waste container, shake off any excess DI water, blot the DI water, or I should say blot your pH probe, dry using a Kim wipe, and then go ahead and then insert your pH probe into the conical tube containing the pH 7 standardization solution. And you'll notice that on the pH meter, it pretty much quickly jumped to 6.95, which is pretty close to 7. So we can say that the pH is stabilized. You'll also get an indicator as such on the electrometer. We're going to hit standard once to enter into standardization mode. And then again, once we verify that the pH is stabilized, we'll hit standard again, and we're just going to kind of get this like quality check reading saying that we have a good electrode and it's standardized well. And then we can also see on the display the numbers 4 and 7, which correspond to the standards in which the pH meter has been calibrated against. Now, if you wanted to go ahead and do that whole process over again, just a reminder, you would hit setup twice and then hit enter once to delete those calibrations. So now that we're ready to measure the pH of some solution that we'll be interested in here, I just basically have a beaker of DI water with a magnetic stir bar on there. I'm going to place it on the stir plate, and you can control how fast your magnetic stir bar is stirring inside the solution by adjusting the knob on your corresponding magnetic stir plate. And then what we're going to do is recover our pH probe out of whatever solution it is in. Use some DI water to again rinse it. You want to make sure that you get in a good habit of rinsing your probe always with DI water and blotting it dry using a Kim wipe so that you don't cross-contaminate any solutions or even accidentally dilute the molarity of whatever solution you are probing for. We're going to replace it back onto the adjustable arm, and this is going to take a little bit of trial and error in adjusting the arm up and down, left and right, as well as kind of like dragging the electrometer closer to your entire beaker stir plate set. And so with a little bit of adjusting and moving the arms and also some of the wiring, and getting it pretty close to the beaker, there's really nothing else that you can do except maybe, move some of the adjustable knobs that are along the arm. And just to give you a better look of what this whole setup would look like up close, essentially you should have the magnetic stir bar in the middle, stirring very freely, as kind of far away as possible from the pH probe, even though the pH probe itself should have that guard on there that you put on at the beginning of your calibration session. But essentially your whole system should look like this. Call your TF up if you have any questions or want to get, a quick consultation as to whether your setup is good to proceed or not. So your entire setup should look something like this, with your pH probe calibrated, hooked up to your electrometer on the adjustable arm, inside the solution of whatever your beaker has, and then also with those burettes right above it so that you can open them up and dispense whatever acid or base you're titrating your solution with. So now it's time to store your pH probe into the storage solution. You're done with your experiments. Take your pH probe, and here you can see that I'm rinsing it with the probe protector already on. It's a little bit unnecessary. Just take the probe protector right off, and then you can just give it one final DI water rinse. Make sure to dab it dry so that you don't change the concentration or the composition of the storage solution. And then as gently as possible, go ahead and insert the probe back into the storage solution. You don't want to put too much force on this because the end of the probe is delicate, and even though the storage container is plastic, you don't want to accidentally shatter the tip of the probe. Call over your teaching fellow if you want to just get a check on that you did everything correctly, and then it goes back onto the adjustable arm, and you're pretty much done for your entire experiments.